Hello everyone, here are my two course resources that I chose to evaluate. The first one here is a Word document or a worksheet page that I actually use in my brick and mortar classroom. So I teach second grade in a brick and mortar school. So the resources that I'm going to show you aren't actually online materials, but they're materials that I use in the classroom with my students. And the first one here is using a map scale worksheet. This worksheet does have a heading at the top. In the guidelines, that was one of the things that was addressed. And it does have that heading up there as using a map scale, and you can definitely tell it's the heading because it's bolded and it's bigger than the rest of the font as well. A downside of this worksheet is there are no images other than the rulers, which aren't really an image per se. I did not enter the image description either in the Word document like the guidelines mentioned doing, so that if there was an interpreter interpreting this worksheet, they wouldn't be able to describe where that image is without that image description. The questions down here are listed in number order. So that was another thing that the guidelines had mentioned doing as well, having lists in numerical order or with bulleted points. So these questions are listed numerically. I do not have any links in this document. I know that the guidelines mentioned that as well. Unfortunately, this document does not have any links to outside resources. Also, there isn't any color in this document. It's kind of boring. It's just black and white, and that having that color would definitely help students that are visually impaired as well, or not visually impaired, but that have low vision and are colorblind. Those types of people would benefit from having color in the document so that they could tell the different parts, and this does not. Another downfall is that the font size is all the same size in this document except for the heading. So I was thinking I could change the size of the questions to make them stand out a little more, and I could even also change the places here so that it would be more obvious for when they were trying to tell how many miles away they were from each other. I noticed my students, when I was doing this activity with them, kind of struggled a little bit at first to be able to find where the different cities were based on the font size. But again, they had the paper version right in front of them. I think if you were looking at it like this and not zoomed in, it would definitely be really hard to tell where the different places are on that ruler to find the different measurements, how far away they are. I could have also added a narration for this Word document. That was one of the guidelines that I saw as well, adding a narration and maybe just reading this aloud so that students that are visually impaired would have that, and then having the directions listed as well for the students that are hearing impaired, since the narration wouldn't really help them, but it would help them having the words like it is presented here. I also believe that this document is age and ability appropriate because I was teaching this concept with my second graders, and I definitely feel that this was a concept that they caught on to pretty quickly, especially because it was age appropriate. My next resource that I am going to evaluate is this flip chart. This flip chart goes along with the geography unit, and as you can see over here in the corner, there are some tools that I can use when I'm in the flip chart. So you can write on it, you can then erase. I'll show you a little bit later too, but this clicker, if there's stuff that you can move it around. There's a highlighter so you can highlight stuff, and then again with the eraser you can erase it. You can add a text box in. There's all sorts of stuff that you could do. This also allows you to go to a different website and annotate it, which is pretty cool. So this flip chart is a lot like a PowerPoint. So I used the guidelines for the PowerPoint for this one. Some of the things didn't align, but most of them did. So this, as I said, is like a PowerPoint, but it allows students and teachers different tools to interact with the slides, which are what are over here. And since this was not a PowerPoint, it was a flip chart instead. This does not allow for an outline view like the guidelines had suggested doing the outline view. There are also several images within this flip chart, so that's really good as well. There are many links to videos too that explain the topic more. So if I were to click on this, it would bring up a video. I'm not signed into Discovery Ed though right now, but all the videos are connected to Discovery Ed. So if I was logged into Discovery Ed, the video would pop up right away and then I could watch it. And then again, I was talking about the cursor and how you can move it. So there's some questions in here that I typically ask my students, and then once they answer them, we open up and we check the answer to see if they're correct. Here, that goes along with that worksheet page that I was talking about earlier. So that slide goes along with that, and so does this one. And then again, with the cursor here, you can move these over. So this was an activity that I did with my students to teach them about the continents. And then here's another video link as well. There is a lot of color in this presentation, which I thought was a really good thing, especially because my last resource did not have that much color. Also, another downfall of this, there isn't any audio other than the videos, so I was thinking I could create audio for all the text in the flip chart, especially even just saying, like, being able to click on it and then hearing the continent name, especially for those visually impaired students, and then having the questions read aloud for them, and even those questions, and even maybe some of the map too. And another downfall of this that I'm just now noticing is that the font is so small in this map here. So definitely the visually impaired students wouldn't be able to read this as well, or low vision students, because it's so tiny. So I was thinking maybe I could even increase the font, or maybe even increase this map, because the question's pretty big and there's plenty of room still on the screen to make this map a little bigger. Also, I figured some of the text size could be increased or decreased, which I already kind of talked a little bit about. I was definitely thinking for, where was it? In some of these maps here, again, increasing the map size so that you would be able to read the places in the map a little better. So I also thought that the color combinations could be changed to make it easier to see some of the things. Like here, there's a colored background. This color I would maybe change just to make it a little easier to see. And again, this flip chart also allows for students to utilize the different tools like the pen, which I showed you, the eraser, and the different videos linked into the flip chart. And also the students and teachers can drag items over in the map. I already kind of showed you that. They can also do that in, oh no, okay. So that one wasn't working for some reason, but they could drag where the ocean goes and that sort of thing too, which makes this tool really good for students to utilize. Again, this is a tool that I use in my brick and mortar classroom, but I definitely could see uploading this somehow to the form that you're teaching from online and having students interact with this, or even maybe doing a not a face-to-face lesson, but a synchronous lesson where you have all the students online at once and have this up, and then have students interact with it together as well, or maybe try and put it maybe somehow in a breakout room. I'm not sure how that would work, but put it in a breakout room and have them do one of these slides. Like they would have to find the continents and they'd have to match up the continents, and working as a team, that would be a really great tool as well. But again, you'd want to make those changes, maybe add those audio narrations for the students that do have that visual impairment so that they would be able to participate as well. Thank you so much for watching.